A, meeting opening. A, call to order. A2, adoption of the agenda. Are there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have discussed as an action item? Hearing none. Do I have a motion that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda excluding the executive session?
Move that the governing board adopt the agenda excluding the executive session.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion? Oh, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. And let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I almost forgot my own. Oh.
We'll go ahead and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. D, presentation, D1, curriculum presentation.
Governing Board President Navarez, Governing Board members, and Superintendent Dr. Mayas, I am pleased to present the ELA Adoption Committee's recommendation to you this evening. Tonight's presentation will cover an overview of the process as well as the final recommendation. The purpose of the ELA Adoption Committee is to review, evaluate, and recommend high-quality and appropriate textbooks and instructional resources to be recommended for approval by the Governing Board. The committee was committed to learning about best practices in ELA, including standards and the science of reading, and to evaluating ELA textbooks and instructional resources. The adoption process began in December when we started recruiting committee members from each school site. Once the committee was established, we held our first meeting in January and continued to a total of 8 meetings ending May 16th. During our meetings, the committee participated in professional learning, reviewed and approved the rubric, and reviewed instructional materials from multiple vendors. At this time, materials were also available for public review. Once the committee completed their review meetings, the top scoring vendors were invited to present in person to the committee. At the end of the presentations, the committee reached consensus on a recommendation. To ensure community engagement, the committee maintained an AESD ELA curriculum adoption website. This website included information on meeting dates and times, as well as agendas, meeting minutes, and presentations. Materials were also made available for review at all campuses and at the district office for teachers, staff, and families. This table shows the committee participants. Our facilitators included members of the Ed Services team, and the committee included a group of principals as well as teachers from every school site and our ESS department. Our committee members were thorough and thoughtful in their participation, and we are very grateful for their support. The adoption process aligns to the teaching and learning section of the strategic plan, specifically that AESD will ensure continuous growth and achievement for all. Specifically, the adoption aligns with the teaching and learning goal of ensuring continuous growth and achievement for all. This includes effective instruction, content knowledge, and evidence-based practices. Throughout the adoption process, committee members referred back to the AESD mission, vision, and values. This helped the committee remain focused on our objectives to recommend a high-quality program for adoption. In order to assess materials, committee members utilized an evaluation rubric. The committee members reviewed a general rubric and provided input. The revised rubric was used to provide initial scores for each vendor. The vendors receiving the highest rubric score were invited to formally present to the committee. The final rubric included multiple indicators. This slide represents a sample of the rubric items, including alignment to the science of reading, systematic interventions and extensions, and a balance of texts. To make a final recommendation, the committee utilized consensus-based decision-making. One characteristic of consensus is when group members choose to cooperate with the direction of the group rather than insisting on their personal preference. While group members might be willing to go along with a proposal, they do not actually need to favor it above another choice. Essentially, to consent means that even if a group of members disagree, there is still overall consent to move forward. By using a consensus process, the will of the group is represented. During the final phases of our recommendation process, the committee used the Alhambra Fist to 5 to ensure consensus had been reached. The committee did reach consensus and would like to recommend HMH into reading for K5 and HMH into literature 6-8 for our ELA adoption. The committee shared rationale for their recommendation. This feedback fell under several categories, such as content organization and accessibility, assessment and data analysis, differentiation and customization, and instructional strategies and routines. The committee provided specific feedback for HMH into reading and into literature, such as clarity of focus, meaning alignment between materials, assessments and state standards, as well as options for differentiation, including extension projects for accelerated learners. This chart shows the cost for HMH into reading, into literature, Writable for 3rd through 8th grade, and Foundations for 5 years. Writable is a cohesive writing program with an AI component. This is an additional cost, but would reduce the need for additional supplemental writing materials. Foundations would continue as a required supplemental program. The cost for HMH into reading and into literature is $2.5 million, and Foundations is $1.1 million, which aligns to the budget that has been allotted for this adoption. A critical part of the adoption is our implementation plan. The implementation plan, including training, will begin during the 2025-26 school year. The committee would like to ensure that the implementation plan includes vendor presence and support, ongoing site collaboration, differentiated training that meets school needs, and a system for training new teachers. Full implementation will begin during the 2026-27 school year. And with that, I can answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have a couple of comments. I kind of did the math homework there a little bit. That seems like they met twice every 2 weeks during that period in time. So I want to make sure that the committee knows how much I personally appreciate, and I'm sure my fellow board members do as well, how much time they spent putting in extra work and extra hours to review the materials and the thoughtful decisions that they had to make during that time. I know it was a time commitment. As I looked at a couple of things I noticed as you were going through the presentation was that, and there was a piece in there about the materials had a thematic theme to the thematic theme. Oh, that's redundant, isn't it? But there was a thematic component, which I think is so important to have that redundancy of a theme that's gone over and over and over again. And it talked about the literary component. I'm assuming the literary component means, thank you. I think it's on. I assume the literary component refers to literature that they're going to be reading. And so my question to that would be, is it literature that's just written specifically for, what is this, HMH? Or are they using conventional literature that has been produced and written by authors in the field? Maybe you didn't hear my question.
Hi, I'm here. I hopefully everyone can hear me. Can you hear me? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I've never done this before, so bear with me. And that was a great question. And so what's included in Into Reading and Into Literature are things that you would see that are standard stories, short stories that you might see in other texts, and then some might be by different authors that would be proprietary to HMH Into Reading Into Literature. And that's one of the things that the committee liked, was that there were things that would be recognizable, but then also some things that were newer and more current and represented a wide range of voices.
Thank you. I do appreciate that diversity and that combination of the two. I did see there was a handwriting component in there as well. I think that that's something that we don't often realize that needs to be taught, and there's been an effort to not include that. But I do think it's, having just been to see how my 14-year-old grandson writes, yes, we have a need to teach handwriting. So I appreciate that. I was curious as to what the ongoing support would be during the 26-27 year when we'll have full implementation.
That's one of the things that the committee really liked about this particular vendor, is that you have a person who's like your vendor representative, or your go-between with you and HMH, but they also have additional features such as a system called Coachly, which is where teachers can connect directly with an HMH coach, if you will. So they can send an email, or there's like an online messaging system where they can message the person and get an answer back within, I think they said 24 hours. So that's one opportunity they have. They also have both live training, so coming in person, mixed in with some opportunities for asynchronous training. So there are modules that teachers can take on when it's a convenient time for them. And so there are lots of different opportunities for support as we begin to implement this. And so that was, again, one of the things that the committee really appreciated, was that it's not just they come in and train once and then you're good. They come in and train, but then they continue to provide ongoing support through multiple different modalities.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the team for all the hard work they put in. And I also appreciate the fact that they adopted a series that's kindergarten through 8th grade. I like that continuum and that continuity of instruction and methodologies that will continue through the grade span. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Do you have any other comments from board members?
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr.
Yes. Hello. I have a few questions. So in terms of the public review period, which happened between March 5th and May 7th, did we receive any feedback or comment cards from the public?
We did not, and it was available in business services. The whole system was available for view, and unfortunately, we did not receive any public comment on that.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I have is in terms of pricing. So, how many bids did we have, and where does this one fall in terms of the pricing?
So we received bids from all of the vendors who submitted their materials submitted a quote. It's hard to say exactly how they tie into each other because they each do it a little bit differently. But this one came in, so the program as a whole is just under 2.5 million. And one of the things that's interesting about this one in particular is that 2.5 million includes like an additional writing program that's part of their curriculum called Writable. So that did bump up that cost a little bit. And so that was not something we found with other vendors, was adding that additional component for writing. So I wouldn't be able to say exactly how much other vendors were because they do it differently, but we could certainly get that information to you if you would like.
Okay. And then when it comes to Writable, can you explain to the board and to the public the AI component?
Yes, and so Writable is an online system where it provides writing prompts for students, or teachers can submit writing prompts as well. And it assists teachers by, one of the things it does is it assists teachers by reviewing or reading student writing and providing feedback based on a rubric. So as being a former English teacher, one of the things that's very, very time consuming is reading work and providing really good feedback, because that feedback part is important. And what Writable does is it helps the teacher do that. So teachers, of course, can still provide feedback and should provide feedback to students, but this just helps them with time and efficiency, but also it can collect some data points so that teachers know this is an area of writing that all students need to work on, or this is something that they're struggling with. So it's really a nice support for teachers, and it can both provide prompts for teachers to use, but then teachers can really customize it to make it what they want as well. And in talking with one of our neighbor districts who also adopted HMH into reading and into literature, they love the writable component of it. And so we're excited to have that opportunity for our teachers.
And which district is that?
It was Phoenix Elementary.
Okay. And does this comply with our AI board policy, and does HMH into reading know about it?
We can make sure that they are aware of the policy. And one of the nice things in working with vendors is that that's part of the adoption process, is that we work with them to make sure it's fine tuned to what our needs are within our district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conches. Do I have any other board member with any comments or questions? I did have a quick question, Dr. Slover. Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to just ask for clarification on my end, maybe for the board members as well. But in regards to the supplemental or foundations, and this is something that I'm trying to make sure I understand, was foundations and Spalding kind of the ones that we were looking at, or am I seeing it a little bit different? Like, were they the ones that we were looking at as our options?
Yes, so Spalding and Foundations are both part of the required supplement to our reading block, our literacy block. And so Spalding is used at a fewer number of schools, which is why we included the estimate for Foundations, because it's a much larger dollar amount. And so Foundations would continue as a supplement to the HMH into reading, as would Spalding. So schools that are Spalding schools would continue to use Spalding. Schools that are Foundation schools would continue to use Foundations. And that was something that was really important to the committee, was that they believe in the work we have done with Spalding and Foundations, and they want that to continue. So when we submitted the estimate for the price, that's why we included both the ELA curriculum as well as the supplemental of Foundations.
Okay, thank you. And kind of a little bit similar question from Mr. Conches regarding public involvement. Do you know from your experience, and perhaps there may be other individuals that can ask this too, but have we seen similar, I guess, similar responses with, or lack thereof, when it comes to this part of the adoption process? Like, I know we had the music one, we talked about math, and this is the reading one. So are we seeing the same level of involvement, and which sounds like none or very little, and what might be considered to do differently for future adoptions?
In my experience with doing adoptions, it depends. Sometimes you have a lot of input and sometimes you don't have a lot of input. But just because we didn't receive a lot of parent or community input during the review time, we can still absolutely include the public in the process as we are as we move forward with the onboarding and the training. We want our community to know what our curriculum is, and we want them to be able to experience it. And so we can certainly build a method or a program to communicate with the community about what our curriculum includes and how parents can be involved. And that's a big part of any curriculum, is that there is parent involvement. There are parent involvement opportunities. So like when we do reading nights or Title I nights, things like that, we can incorporate our ELA curriculum to make sure that parents are aware and that they're involved and that they have all of the information they need. And that is pretty common to have ongoing parent and community involvement throughout the life of the new adoption.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Contras?
Yes. So when board member Santana and I were reviewing the presentation, we wanted to ask when was the last time that we did an ELA adoption?
It would have been 7 years ago. So that's kind of where the timing of this one was. It's at the end of that 7-year cycle.
Okay, and then a different question in terms of data. Is there any data to show that this program has been used in any other district and has increased their literacy or any of their proficiencies in ELA?
We were able to get information from our neighbor districts, Phoenix Elementary, and I'll add that there are other local districts that also use Into Reading. We wanted to, when we did comparisons, we wanted to look at a district that was close to ours, which is why we've looked a lot at Phoenix L. And in looking at, they just implemented it this year. And so when they got their state assessment data back in the spring, they did see a little bit of an increase. And this is year 1 of their adoption. So that is one data point to show a neighbor district that saw an increase in their data.
And I know it's hard to say what a little bit of an increase sounds like, but is that a 1%? Is that a 3%? Is that a 5%?
I want to say it was modest. It was about 2 or 3%.
That's still good. 2 to 3% is good for their first year of implementation.
Exactly. And usually we sometimes expect to see an implementation dip when it happens, and they didn't see that. So that's good. And the other interesting thing is that Phoenix L also uses foundations like what we do. And so we've been able to have some conversations with them about how they continue to use that supplement and how that's continued as part of their adoption.
Okay, and one last question, Mr. President, is if the board decides to pass this tonight, will the $3,547,270.82 be coming out of fiscal year 24-25 or fiscal year 25-26, or will it be paid in a span of multiple fiscal years?
So in talking with Ms. Bilyeu, there's capital set aside to do it either way, either to make the entire purchase now or to purchase it over the course of the next 5 years. So you order 5 years worth of curriculum, basically. So we can either do it year by year or we can do it now because the budget is already set aside for the entire cost of the adoption.
And the follow-up question is, I guess for Superintendent or Mr. Coffinger, is what should we be doing? What should we be considering in terms of either paying it now or paying it over 5 years due to what's happening in our enrollment and in our budget?
So a couple of things that I can share is that and that's part of after there is approval of any adoption, we work with the vendor to make sure we're getting the most for our money, that we are maximizing different, even things like shipping and packaging and how things are delivered. And so some other things that we work with the vendor on are, if we purchase everything at once, does that give us a discount? And we would obviously try to get the most for our dollars. So it can't, that the buying things all at once can reduce the cost of it. I don't have that information yet. We will know that as we start to talk with the vendor about how we want everything to work out.
Thank you, Dr. Slover. And yes, Mr. Conchas, that's a great question. I know Mr. Coffinger and I were just speaking to that yesterday, and you're welcome to approach the podium, but while you're doing that, I just wanted to share one of the things that we do know is towards the end of the year, we did see a significant decline in our enrollment, and we are waiting. We are um, just waiting to see what the school, the beginning of the school year and what enrollment will look like. And so there will be no purchasing of student materials until that time. And so because I know we need to see how many students show up day one. So Mr. Coffinger, did you have anything to add to that?
Thank you, Dr. Myers. Yes, I was going to say something similar, just the flexibility and change, making sure that you have the options as the materials can change over those 5 years. If you make that early agreement is something important to keep in mind. But Dr. Slover was right on with we would need a discount. It's required for us to prepay for something like that. So those are two of the two big factors to consider when thinking about when to make your payments.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Slover. Moving to E, public comment. No public comment. F, consent agenda. I call for a motion that the governing board approves consent agenda items F2 through F13.
Mr. President, I move that the governing board approve items F2 through F13.
Thank you, Mr. Contreras. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. G, public hearing. G1, public hearing on 2025-2026 expenditure budget. And then, do you have any questions from any board members while we have Mr. Coffinger here?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Contreras.
So in terms of the budget that we talked about last time, we had put about a 4% decrease in enrollment, and then we received information that is the new information, Dr. Myers, from the last time that we spoke about the significant decline? Shared that.
This year's decline, what we saw when we concluded the end of the school year was unlike any of the years that I've been present in Alhambra.
And so, Mr. Coffinger, is that already in the proposed budget for tonight that could potentially be approved? Is that what we're doing today?
Yes, thank you. I'll refresh your memory a little bit. We did do a 4% decline with the ADM, but with the draft forms that we were forced to propose, that we are anticipating a 2% increase in the base level. We're not allowed to propose assuming that's going to happen. So in essence, it's kind of manufacturing a 6% decline with the bottom line. So 4% in ADM without an increase in the base level gets us to around truly a 6%, because as we mentioned last meeting, we like to budget conservatively.
Thank you. And just one last question. Hopefully it's the last question. I know that we have a good financial standing, and we also have carryover. I think it's about $6 million in our budget. If we do need to start making cuts because of either what's happening at the state legislature, obviously they haven't passed a budget, and there may be a government shutdown. So I guess where would we need to start cutting? And then two, if this government shutdown happens, it's unprecedented. Would we still be receiving our funds?
I'll let you speak, but first, if I can share, Mr. Conchas, it's a great question. And I know, again, I've been having conversations all day about this. And one of the things that we're trying to watch closely is just we need a good understanding of how many students we have, because where the majority of our budget is in teacher salaries. And so we want to ensure that we are staffing fiscally efficiently. And so we want to ensure that I know we've been looking and making sure that we know exactly how many kids are enrolled, that even keeping track of students who are withdrawing, just really looking at those numbers so that we can ensure that we have the adequate number of teachers, because the fact is if we have a decline in enrollment, then our teaching staff numbers need to match that. And so that's why we've been very, very careful. One example is right now, based on enrollment, we have a school that Parents are registering now for kindergartners, and so we know those kids are coming, and it looks like we're going to need it. It looked like the data showed we needed another kindergarten teacher at that particular school. We did not post to hire an additional teacher. What we did was we looked within our district enrollment, and we noticed that one of our schools, one of the numbers in one of their grade bands were showing to be lower in the teens. And so what we did was we went ahead and determined that it was best to collapse one of the classrooms and to contact that teacher, one of the teachers, and let them know that they would be filling the need at the school that presented it. In the past, we would have just posted that position, but we're looking very closely at all of our numbers to ensure that we're just mindful of our current situation. Mr. Coffinger, do you have anything to add to that?
Thank you, Dr. Myers. No, as the funding comes from the students with that we are proud to serve, the change with that, the shrink and expand, as I like to think, should generally happens in the classroom, right? Because the teachers are what is going to react to those numbers. So as long as we stay within, we work really hard. The business office and HR works really hard to stay within our ratios, and we monitor those constantly to make sure we're where we want to be. And with that, that is, I would say that practice has kept us in the good standing we have, as we have experienced volatile and somewhat changes in our enrollment over the past 10 years or so.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other comments?
Kind of working this through in my head. Yes, it is, the students are important, and that impacts the number of teachers, but it also impacts our transportation budget as to how many routes we have to fill, how many bus drivers we need. So it's sort of like an onion that's opening up. I mean, one thing leads to another, and I just want to make sure that we are focusing not strictly on teachers, but on all the ancillary services that are related to that as well. Because I know we've had a discussion about spaces in the schools that we are not going to utilize, so then we don't maybe need as much custodial services. And we might have savings in electric uses. So like I said, it's an onion that's opening up. There's more things there's lots to consider.
You are absolutely correct, and we are watching all of that. I just gave the example because that's an easier example to understand, but at the same time, yes, we're watching everything, and we've actually closed some other positions that were outside of the classroom just because of just being mindful of our current situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coffinger. Moving to H, Business Department, H1, Adoption of 2025-2026 Expenditure Budget. I call for a motion that the governing board adopt the administrative proposed 2025-2026 expenditure budget.
I move that the governing board approve the 2025-2026 expenditure budget, that we adopt that expenditure budget. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. H2, Maricopa County Superintendent Garnishment Resolution. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the Maricopa County School Superintendent Garnishment Resolution.
Governing board approve county school superintendent garnishment resolution.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. H3 is the monthly submitted report for the budget. I, new business. I1, governing board meeting change. Call for a motion that the governing board approve the proposal that the July 10, 2025 governing board meeting to be rescheduled to, and I guess this is for, maybe I should offer the date right now. Okay, so the July 17th or July 31st.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Conchas.
Did you make a motion or do you want me to make a motion?
I call for a motion. So yeah, I guess I do need somebody to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we reschedule the July 10th, 2025 governing board meeting to July 31st, 2025.
Do I have a second using July 31st date? Thank you, Ms. Santana. Any discussion?
I have a conflict, so I will know.
Okay.
That's awfully close to the opening of school. Are there going to be issues with the date being that late in July? I mean, actually, our staff will already be starting.
Mhm. Yeah. So mhm. So I think Ms. Dale Campos' question is, has the district considered how late the July meeting would be and how would it affect the school or the district? Are there any comments on that before we take a vote? Any other or
I mean, since this is open discussion, I'm going to say that I can attend the 17th if there is more consensus on that date.
Yeah, I think it would be good, Mr. President, if board members in during the discussion say which ones they would be able to attend and which ones they wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to attend the 17th. I would be able to attend the 31st.
Okay. Mr. Ocampo, can you attend?
My concern is school business that might need to be taken care of, and July 31st is close beginning of school. It is the beginning of school.
And Ms. Santana, do you have a preferred day or either day? Okay. And then Mrs. Solorio, you said that you cannot July 31st.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And I didn't say mine, but I'm available both times, I believe. Yeah, because they were my ideas. So I guess we'll vote for July 31st. And so board members, any other discussion before we?
Yes, I'll make some discussion. So I propose July 31st, and I'm going to be voting no because it sounds like July 17th works for Mr. Solorio and also works for Ms. Dale Campos' concern about getting too early or too close to the beginning of the school year. So I'm going to be voting no on this motion.
Okay. Would you like to amend your motion?
I don't know that chapter of parliamentary procedure, but I would like to amend my motion to July 17th.
And do I have a second?
Did I second it? I think I was the original. Oh no, Rocio did.
But for the amended date.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ocampo. So I believe the way we should vote is that we're going to vote to agree to the amendment and to be rescheduled. Okay, so then all in favor for July 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Motion amended and passed. All right. Well, we're all learning together. All right. Next item, I2. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the intergovernmental agreement between City of Phoenix and Alhambra Elementary School District.
I move that the governing board approve the intergovernmental agreement between City of Phoenix and Alhambra Elementary School District.
Thank you, Mr. Contreras. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ocampo. Any discussion?
Yes. Do we have a staff report or a presentation on what this program is for the general public, or will we have information readily available to the school site on the website about what this is? Because it's a really big accomplishment. I just don't know if everyone in the public knows what it was, because I didn't know what the PAC program was before we started discussing the implementation of this agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas, for your question. Yes, it's all still in the works, and we will definitely ensure that we will provide an update once all is finalized and once we're ready to give all the information to the public, and we will definitely be promoting it. And so we will update you once all is finalized.
And when might we see one of the first programmings come out? Would that perhaps be this fall upcoming year or perhaps a different time period?
The goal is to have all ready prior to the start of the school year.
Okay.
And Mr. Hepler is in the audience. Do you have any information to add, or are you comfortable with what I stated? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. I call for, moving to I3, approval of memorandum of understanding between Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona Health Choice and Alhambra Elementary School District. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the memorandum of understanding between Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona Health Choice and Alhambra Elementary School District, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
I move that we accept the memorandum of understanding between Blue Cross Blue Shield and the Alhambra School District for the period of time July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Del Campo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Any discussion?
Could we have Mr. tell us about how amazing this is?
Yes, Mr. Rivera, may you please approach the podium to share some lovely insights on this.
President Navarez, members of the board, Dr. Maez, I'm pleased to announce that upon your approval, this partnership will provide much-needed social and medical services to Alhambra students and their families. This partnership is being established under the umbrella organization of Blue Cross Blue Shield, with multiple providers coming under that umbrella to provide services in the area of dental services for kids, food, hygiene products, eye care, just a variety of medical services and social services as well. We also recognize that many of our families across the district, although eligible for certain types of medical benefits, are not aware of their eligibility or are reluctant to share information with agencies, thus keeping them from qualifying for these services. Therefore, part of this partnership will bring in insurance navigators housed within our buildings to meet with, privately of course, with individuals and assist them in qualifying for coverage that they would otherwise not recognize their eligibility. We anticipate that with your approval, this partnership will kick off on August the 13th at the Sevilla Multipurpose Room in the form of a community health fair to welcome our students and families back to the 25-26 school year.
Excellent. Thank you. Any comments from the board?
I am so impressed by what this is going to do for our families. In a time when things are being cut out, we are adding supports to our families and our students. I was complaining because my Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance premium went up. I won't complain anymore because it's going to a good cause. So
your money's
yes.
coming to a good place.
Exactly. And maybe I can tell them where I want it to go, right? So thank you to all of you that worked on this. This was not an easy thing to accomplish. And kudos to Blue Cross Blue Shield for recognizing and stepping up to the plate and providing these services. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member? No. I look forward to the August 13th, or at least hearing about the August 13th community health fair.
President Navarez, just one last comment.
Yes.
In terms of data and tracking, it is just a suggestion, not a request, just to make that clear, of the financial impact or the financial value of this program. And essentially we're not paying for anything, but of course all of that has a value to it. I think it would be really good to be able to tell the public how much of a value did we receive from this contract. So that's just a suggestion.
We're actually already beginning to work on that.
Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. And now it's time for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passed. Moving to I4, approval of the memorandum of understanding between Grand Canyon University. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the memorandum of understanding between Grand Canyon University and Alhambra Elementary School District.
Okay, I move that we approve the extended learning opportunities for students and faculty at the Alhambra Traditional School that were
Sorry, Miss.
provided with.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we read the correct version of that piece.
Recommends the governing board approve the MOU between GCU and AESD. I was saying too many words there. You want the short version? Sorry.
Totally fine. Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Do I have a second? Hearing none. Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. And it's time for discussion.
Is this in addition to the work that they do at Westwood? It's in place of the work they do at.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. This is actually transferring the program from Westwood to ATS. So a continuation of that work, but just a transfer of the location due to, and for proximity purposes, it's closer to GCU. Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering why they chose ATS as the school that needed extended learning opportunities.
This program includes student teachers, like some of the GCU students attend courses on campus. And so that's what it includes. And then in addition to that, so the students, rather than attending their courses on the Westwood campus, they would be attending at ATS. And then in addition to that, what they have found is that a number of the students that attend the Learning Lounge are actually from ATS, and so and that attend on the GCU campus. So by providing that here, that's where the need has been demonstrated, and so it would be easy.
It's the GCU need, not the student needs. Sorry.
I have, you bring up a great point, and I have not analyzed the numbers or nor asked them for specific numbers of. I know they advertise their Learning Lounge, and how they offer that support, and I've not asked for numbers as to. I know we mark on our website that's available for tutoring support, but I've not asked for specific numbers of how many kids on campuses are using it. The only thing I know is in speaking to families specifically at ATS have shared with me how they use that. That's why I mentioned that. So,
Just so I'm clear, this is the only school that will be at service. Okay.
correct. It will no longer be at Westwood. It would be at ATS.
Mr. Navarez, President Navarez.
Conchas.
So I appreciate the student teachers and everything that is in the services part of this agreement. I would love to see the actual data of the justification for moving from Westwood to ATS, because as it says right here, the MOU is also intended to increase visibility of the variety of programs and opportunities in the school and district learning community. I'd see this as we've been contributing and doing this MAU because it's a good program, but it also gives GCU more benefits in terms of their advertising, in terms of their claims of investing in the local community and being basically the savior for our district. And so I don't appreciate the way that they advertise that, and I think that this program is justification for them to continue that messaging. And I think that we should definitely be demanding more, but that's my own personal opinion, and I cannot let my personal opinions impact or influence the quality of education that we provide to students. And I came in with that, but then hearing that they're moving from Westwood to ATS because of proximity, that also raises some concerns. So I'm unsure about how I'm going to vote on this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Conchas.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Lorio.
they're also in proximity to too, as well as Cordova. So seems like there's options there. Just as a comment.
Mhm. Any other comments from the board? Are there further comments? Maybe, oh, sorry, I was gonna, yeah, go ahead.
The only other thing that I'll add is in speaking to Mr. Fight as well, when they proposed this change, when GCU did bring it to our attention, they did mention that too, that Mr. Fight has been, because of the need on 27th Avenue, Mr. Fight has been much more involved in a lot of the 27th Ave collab work and just promoting, advocating for safety and just for more to be done in support of the community. And so he has developed a stronger relationship with GCU. And so because of that relationship, that was also mentioned as part of the rationale.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Oriole?
I'll be supporting this at the moment, but I think maybe this is a good leverage point for us in the future, to have discussions on maybe how this can expand to other campuses, or, because the Learning Lounge is right there. It's walking distance from Cordova. It's walking distance from Granada. It might be worth prying in a little bit more on making sure that like our community members are aware of the resource, or students are more, I would say, intentionally. And as was mentioned, without the data, it's hard to know, how much this is being utilized. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. So my comments will be, if at Westwood there was a benefit or an impact being provided for our district, with it moving to, if with it potentially moving to ATS, what might we be losing from Westwood? And that might help me understand the kind of impact that this program does have. So I don't know if I need to phrase it again or phrase it differently, but I just want to know what we're losing, or what Westwood would be losing from this change.
One of the benefits that was there was the fact that having the students on campus allowed for the principal to have access to interact with the prospective, teaching candidates. And so one of the things that we're so as far as a loss, one of the things that we're very proud of is the fact that I know even speaking to Ms. Stevenson herself, she was very proud of the fact that when in previous years, she recalls hiring 11 plus teachers in a school year, and so it was very helpful to have the students there. So she was able to choose from those, or she was able to already have established relationships. One thing we're proud of is the fact that we have done a great job of retaining our teachers. And so specifically, even at Westwood, Ms. Stevenson shared how this is the first year where they've only hired 2 teachers for this next school year. And so they were very proud of them. And they were not GCU. I'm trying to remember even what we spoke to, and I know Marge, you're out there, so I don't know if you have something to comment, but I want to say, and they were experienced teachers from outside the district, the ones that we hired, they weren't any of the GCU students.
Okay, I guess that opens my question. If it's a benefit that we have able to hire these GCU students when we have openings, how many openings do we usually have at ATS? It's not a school that I see has a huge turnover. So by moving the program there, are we limiting the amount of student teachers that would want to come to work in Alhambra School District?
The fact is I don't believe, the reason I supported it when they requested this move is because of the fact that we've had, over the years, we've had we've been able to retain teachers greater there at ATS. And so there are a lot of amazing teachers for any student teachers to learn from. And so that in itself has been a challenge even at Westwood, where again, in previous years where there was significant turnover. So then it was hard to, when you're thinking about placing practicum or student teachers with, or even just practicums, because it's observing hours, right? And so then it's hard to find, it was harder to find teachers that have had a greater experience, whereas ATS, we've had great retention there. There's a lot of great teachers to choose from when placing students. But like I said, as a district overall, we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to be very selective this year when hiring teachers, because we want to make sure we have the best candidates, whether it's a brand new teacher who's just entering the profession or whether they're experienced teachers applying from other districts.
Any other comments?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Conchas.
I have made up my mind. And I think that if we were to see the money or the dollar value of this program, it'd probably be significant. Want to leave any money out on the table? I do have concerns, and the contract itself talks about assessing district needs as well as site needs. So that could be an opportunity for us to talk about these things that we're discussing here today, our superintendent and leadership. But I will be supporting this because I do not want us to leave anything up on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any other board member would like to make a comment before we do roll call vote?
About emergency substitute teachers are available. Does that mean we're using the people from the GCU program as emergency substitute teachers? Okay.
So so similar to the CCIA role that we have, where we have classroom coverage at every campus. At that campus, there was an additional CCIA because it was a student from GCU. So in other words, but at the same time, based on staffing and different things the cuts that we've had to make, it's consistent across the district. And Marjorie, I don't know if you're aware of any differences there at Westwood in relationship to the CCIA or to the classroom coverage, but my understanding has just been because the students are there, that they were able to cover absences on they were able to cover the app. Do you have anything?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Conchas.
I also, in terms of responding to the question, in terms of section 4, GCU responsibilities, it says GCU will provide a cadre of students who have emergency substitute credentials to serve Alhambra Traditional School and possibly surrounding AESD schools on an as needed and as available basis. So I would love to know if we could also include the other surrounding schools that we talked about when it comes to that coverage as well, because that's what it says in this MOU.
Thanks for reminding.
And I could definitely provide an update. If we can note that for HR, we can definitely provide an update on that as we continue to grow the partnership.
Any other comments? I'll just give one final comment. For me, it doesn't feel right at this moment in terms of moving it from from a school that could potentially still benefit from this to another school that could also benefit, but I think has a lot more, I guess, foundation that we aim to see. But that's just from how I'm viewing it at this moment. I am concerned, though, that we don't have some of this data to present, mostly because this has been a MOU that we've seen in the past, and I'm sure a lot of this is the same language from last year. Because this was a concern of mine last year, because I was still curious about what this program does, how it benefits our district and our students. So I just don't feel like it. I can't see it yet that this would be something that I would support.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Conchas.
A question for the board and for the district is that does this need to be passed tonight, or if this vote failed, could it come back in a future meeting, for example, in July?
My understanding is they would like to begin placing students and begin working on their programming, because the one different, like I shared, though I don't have data for you at this moment, we can definitely do that. But when I just think of day to day, what I see different, when I would see this program at Westwood, is that because the students are taking their courses on campus, you do see a lot of GCU students. Like when you would go in classrooms, you see GCU students that are whether observing teachers or working in a small group with with the guidance of a teacher. That's something you could visibly see on that campus. And so with that programming with students, I know that they're looking to implement it for the fall. And so whether it's a decision that's made today, or at least now we know that we have another July meeting. And so that could be an option, but I know that they're hoping to begin the programming for their students.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I have to ask more questions. How long has the, GCU been doing their program at Westwood?
That's a great question. And Marjorie, you were here before I was. And so I know that it's been on that campus. It was on that campus when I thought it was on the campus when I got there. Do you know, Marjorie?
The public can't hear you, so.
Thank you, Marjorie.
I can get the exact date for you, but I don't know what that date is right now. But when I did start in HR in the 21-22 school year, the program was already in existence at Westwood.
And my follow-up question is, have we seen any significant increase in proficiency and test scores or ever since the program was implemented?
Thank you, Marjorie. I can, yeah, thank you. So if it's, especially as Ms. Ragland just shared, she believes it's been there 6 years. No, as we're aware, Westwood has been a school that has had a challenge with achievement, and so, however, they did make some increases this school year, and we're continuing to focus our efforts there to ensure students are achieving.
Thank you. Well, I think that it's great that Principal Fight at ATS is making a good partnership, especially with the 27th Avenue project and with GCU. It sounds to me, and I want to give positive intent on everything, but if a school's test scores or their proficiencies aren't improving, then let's move the program to a place that has good test scores and that we can put on our billboards, and they could put on their brochures to show that they improved from. Imagine the statistic. We went from Alhambra in this year, in this academic year, not even telling them what school site they were at, and then now we have these improved test scores over, and not mentioning that they went to ATS. So I can see, I have distrust in GCU since even before I got onto this board, because of what they've done with the nonprofit status and taking a lot of our tax dollars that should be here in the district. But it just makes me even more skeptical about the different moves that happen. And I think that we need to have a more forceful and a bigger seat at the table, and we need to have more data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Contras. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Chris.
Mrs. Solorio?
Oh yeah, when I first got on the board, I was touring the campuses, and when I toured Westwood, the principal at the time had a really close relationship with the President Mueller of GCU, and that's why it was there. Before that, they were at a different school district altogether. So it's really interesting that they're complaining about proximity when they were literally sending their students miles away. Even though, like, relative to where they used to be, Westwood is much closer. So just some context there for the board on, and it was relationship focused, and it sounds like because Principal Fight has done such a tremendous job building that relationship with GCU, they're wanting to strengthen that relationship. So it sounds like there could be opportunities, just if the site leaders, there's opportunity there, that if our site leaders engage more with GCU, we'll be able to chart a path where they can be stronger partners in other places other than GCU. Just, this is me thinking out loud and word vomiting what my experience has been since I joined, and watching them as a partner and where they were beforehand. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Ms. De Ocampo?
I get, the thing that's bothering me through this whole thing is that they chose the school they wanted to go to based on just the fact that they had a relationship with that principal and not necessarily on what our students in our community needed. It was what they perceived was best for them and their students, not thinking about how that would impact the school they were leaving and the school they were going to. It's kind of an uncomfortable situation for me when we've seen what Grand Canyon University has done over the last decade. And it tends to be about them and not about anybody else in the community. And so where I truly believe the support is good and it's definitely an asset to us, I think it's some point we have to say to them, you have to come to an agreement with us. It's not strictly about what you want and what looks good for you, if that makes any sense.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. And in a conversation with them, I agree with Mr. Solorio and believe it's because of the relationship they've developed. And so that's why I was in support of the move, and especially knowing that Mr. Fight works so closely with them. And so for me, I would love to see resources and support grow throughout our district. But whether it's at Westwood, whether it's at ATS, I personally just appreciate that we have access to the students and are able to see who the students are. And so as we recruit, we see whether it's outside the district, whether it's new to the profession or from other districts. Like I said, I want to make sure that we're only hiring the very best. And so it's nice to be able to have that opportunity to see who's available, so we can be intentional about who we recruit.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Conchas?
And then another thing is that we wouldn't be in such a bad situation when it comes to our enrollment if a lot of our apartment buildings and trailer parks that our students lived in were basically bulldozed in order to build the university's facilities. And so I still am going to support this tonight with a good conversation, because I believe that this conversation needed to be had. And I think that this is a form of accountability, is even just having these discussions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any final comments from any board members? Okay, we will now do a roll call vote, assisted by Dana.
Mr. Conchas,
Aye.
Ms. De Ocampo,
Aye.
Mr. Navarez,
Nay.
Ms. Santana,
Aye.
Mr. Solorio.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passed. Moving to I-5. Notes. There we go. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the English Language Arts textbook program adoption.
I move that the governing board approve the English Language Arts textbook program adoption.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Solorio. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Moving to J, board policies, J1. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the second reading of policy IJNDB, use of technology in instruction.
Mr. President, I move that the governing board approve the second reading of policy IJNDB, use of technology resources in instruction.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Moving to J2, I call for a motion that the governing board approve the second reading of policy JLF, reporting child abuse / child protection.
Mr. President, I move that the governing board approve the second reading of policy JLF, reporting child abuse / child protection.
Thank you, Mr. Contreras. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Moving to J3, second reading of policy. Second reading of policy JR student records. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the second reading of policy JR student records.
Go ahead.
That the governing board approve the second reading of policy JR student records.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Moving to K1, comments from governing board members. Any comments from governing board members?
I have a couple, and they are in relation to things that were on the consent agenda. I want to express my appreciation for the contract service, the arrangements we have made to help grow our own special education teachers. That is a great opportunity that we are allowing and helping our teachers grow their skills and their talents and getting an additional certification in an area there we are definitely lacking teachers to work with our students that have special needs. I also want to comment on the staff development services that were agreed to in the consent agenda. I think we are very proud of how we support our staff development, but this specifically supports the growth of our administrators. And we know how important that is, that we have strong leaders in all of our departments, including our school. And I think that we have seen how if we invest in our teachers and that staff development, how that has helped us. And I think that the money that we are spending and investing in training and supporting and coaching and mentoring our leaders, not only our principals, but some of our district level and our assistant principals, that will in turn help us grow more leaders for our own district. And I think that it will help them learn how to support their staff so we retain not only our leaders, but our staff. I know as a new principal, I didn't have any of that support. In fact, I was kind of the out person because I was the first new principal in a long time, so they didn't know what to do with me. So I would have appreciated this, and I appreciate that we are supporting our leaders in that way.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Do I have any other comments from any board members? Mine just a quick comment. Fortunately, we got through our second reading of these policies. In the future, when we do our first and second reading, just a reminder that when we do the first reading, that is a good chance to make any amendments if that's what you felt was necessary for that. And so just a reminder that that's available to us in the future. Any other comments? All right. Oh, Ms. De Ocampo. Okay. All right. That's number 3. All right. Number 2, comments from superintendent and executive team.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see this evening, we have several of our executive team members who are on a well-deserved vacation. And so, and a thank you to Dr. Slover, who made time to join us this evening, even though she's on her vacation. So I will be the one providing updates or comments this evening. I wanted to thank Mr. Rivera. I know I've been listening and had the honor of hearing just some of the hard work that he's put into collaborating with Blue Cross Blue Shield and really doing all that he and his team can to secure resources for our community. So I want to thank you. And I know one of the things that we discussed that we were grateful for is the fact that many of the resources that we already have within our district must go directly to our students, and some of what they want to provide is for family as well. And so there's a great need out there, and so we're grateful for that. The other comment that I wanted to make as I was reflecting on your comment, Ms. De Ocampo, about the fact that as students decline, we know that not only will it impact the number of teachers that we need, but how is that impacting the rest of the district? And so I wanted to also publicly thank Mr. Kent as an example that in the technology department, for example, within the last few weeks, we've had a resignation. And so as an example, HR worked with Mr. Kent to close a position in that department. So it's little things like that, that as we've had resignations, we are now one position less in the technology department. So that's one concrete example that I can share with you, how we're watching everything as there's resignations. We're considering how we're looking out for the fiscal stability of our district. And so then the other thing I just wanted to share is one of the things I'm very proud of is the summer school programs that we've had this summer. And so we will be providing an update for you all, so you can look forward to that at a future governing board meeting. And I know today was the last day for our high intensity summer English language development program, which was grant funded. And one of the things that I'm really thankful for within that programming was not only were our students learning a lot, but our teachers that participated in that program had high intense coaching as they were teaching, which is something that we know is very much needed. And so I'm very thankful that they were open to that opportunity. And so what that looked like was while they were teaching, they learned a lot. You know, they had some intensive training for a week. And then as they went to implement what they just learned, they had ADE coaches alongside them that would stop them in the middle of a lesson, provide coaching for them. And then based on that coaching, you know, apply what they were being coached on. And while intense, they said, and while uncomfortable, they said it was very helpful. And they are so eager to apply what they've now learned. They feel like better teachers. And so I'm just so grateful for them being so committed to learning, being willing to get uncomfortable so that we can become better in what we do. And so I know that program concluded today, and we're very happy that everyone is learning a lot. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you all is that we are also preparing a budget update. I know in November we presented to you the fact that we recognize some decline, how our federal budgets were cut, and so we shared some updates on what we were doing in response to that, and also knowing just the declining enrollment. And so we want to I've been working with Mr. Coffinger as well as Ms. Conklin to get to prepare an update for you all, a follow up to that presentation. So you can look forward to that very soon here. So thank you. And again, I appreciate everyone's hard work, and we are very excited for the upcoming school year. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Maez. Moving to K3, Governing Board Direction and/or Agenda Item Request.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Conchas.
So seeing as we passed the ELA adoption, which is a really big deal, I think that's great. I would like to get a updated report or presentation on some of the other curriculum adoptions that we've done in the past 2 to 3 years, and understanding where they're at, maybe understanding what are some challenges, what are some successes so far, so that we can not close the loop, but so we can get a good update on whether those materials are working or not, and how they're being done out in the field. And that is my request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any
My request
yes, Ms.
already.
De Ocampo?
I was going to ask for an update on summer school. So someone read my mind. I also would like to know when you are going to get to move back into your offices. I would and how I'm sure you are more than, I know Dana's been kind of counting it by the day and the hour. So I would like an update as to when that's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any other board direction and/or agenda item requests? Hearing none. Moving along to L, meeting closing. L1, next governing board meeting will be July 17th. So please put in your calendar because the old one is no longer effective. July 17th is the new date. See you then. All right. And L2, L2 calendar of events. As you can see, we have the list of events. Try to make time if you can. It's exciting times. And L3, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Ocampo. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Solorio. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Because I gotta leave.